You mentioned in an article you wrote, COP28 gave us many reasons for optimism, marking significant milestones towards international climate action. Sir, did the world capitalize on that so far?
I think so. The remarkable thing about COP28 was it demonstrated the success of a new model of bringing the world together. The old way was to have governmental delegations around the table for a few weeks and then expect the negotiations to deliver the results. But the innovative way that Dr. Sultan Al-Jaber and his team led the preparation was to invite almost anybody with anything to contribute, whether they were indigenous people, NGOs, scientists, energy companies, whoever, to come to the table. And by bringing the entire community together, I sometimes said into the Bedouin tent, it demonstrated an inclusiveness which gave everybody a stake in the success. So I think the remarkable thing about COP28 is that it is not just a milestone in the history of climate action, similar to Paris, but it's also a demonstration that in the 21st century we have found a new model to create a global success. And that is why I believe that COP28 and its success and its methods will survive for decades to come.
Iceland stands as a model of sustainable energy. And because 100% of your electricity comes from clean energy or clean sources. One of the objectives outlined in COP28 was to triple the global renewable energy capacity by 2030. And for that to happen, so many factors has to align. Do you think this is doable?
Yes, I do so. And there are fundamental two reasons from my own experience. One is that during the first decades of my life, over 80% of Iceland's energy was imported oil and coal. We are now, during my lifetime, #1 in the world in terms of clean energy achievements. And it has brought enormous business opportunities for my country. I sometimes say we became a clean energy country not because of climate vision, but because it was good business. It was good for the prosperity of the people. The second reason is that 15 years ago, I went to China and explained to them that through geothermal technology, China could replace the coal-driven heating system in Chinese cities with clean geothermal. And now, 15 years later, the cooperation between Iceland and China in the geothermal area has become the biggest geothermal project in the entire world. So if my own country can go from 80% imported oil and coal into 100% clean energy because it's good business during my lifetime, and in 15 years we can create with China the biggest geothermal transformation in the world, I strongly believe from these examples that the ambition of COP28 in terms of renewable energy is realistic, doable, and 10 years from now, we will celebrate its success.
Beautiful. I would like to discuss more the good business part. You said a comprehensive clean energy transformation is a good business. Can you tell us more about the strategies employed to do that in Iceland?
Well, we first started with the geothermal by putting pipes in the streets to heat our houses. And gradually we discovered we didn't have to import oil. We were not dependent on the fluctuating oil prices. Then we built hydropower stations. And now we can offer aluminum companies, data storage centers, and others energy contracts with fixed energy prices because it's clean energy for the next 10, 15, or 20 years. There's no other country in Europe which can offer factories, data storage centers, whoever, fixed energy prices long term. And then we build spas, greenhouses, tourism, electric cars and buses, all kinds of business opportunities that have become the pillar of our prosperity, because as you know, Iceland is now one of the most prosperous nations in the world. So I often say it is not just a question about energy, it's also a question about multi-level, multi-dimensional business opportunities in the 21st century for the communities, for the people, for different nations. And in other parts of the world like China, India, and others, to move away from coal-driven heating systems that are the major causes of the pollution in the cities, it's also a health issue. I mean, clean energy, geothermal transformation in China is fundamentally a health issue. There are over 2 million people who die in India and China every year because of pollution in the cities. So I think this whole discussion that is just about energy is somewhat misleading. The notion that you need to subsidize clean energy is an old-fashioned way. Yeah, you had to do that 15 years ago, 20 years ago. But now clean energy is competitive to any other form of energy in any market in the world.
Mm-hmm. How did you manage to make the people of Iceland part of this and push in the right direction?
Well, it's a very interesting question, because I often say, when people ask me, what have you learned from your long public career? And my shortest answer is, the fundamental lesson is people are not stupid. I mean, ordinary people have an inner sense of what is good for them and what is clever. So the fishing towns all over Iceland, who used to spend a lot of the money they earned from going on the fishing boats and catching the fish in importing oil and coal to heat their houses and drive the electricity and so on, realized, why are we spending all this currency on importing oil and coal if we have this clean energy next to us? So, for example, the fishing town Grindavik, who is next to the famous Blue Lagoon, started their geothermal progress because the people saw it made sense to use the local geothermal clean energy to heat their houses instead of paying oil companies from America or Britain or else a lot of money to do that. And then, of course, something interesting happened. The spill of water from the geothermal power plant was allowed to flow into the lava, and it created a lagoon. And gradually people started coming and bathing in the lagoon. So now we have in Iceland the world famous Blue Lagoon, which is probably the most famous spa in the entire world, where we charge people almost 100 euros each to bath themselves in a spill of water from the geothermal power plant. So it can lead to tourism, spas, all kinds of business opportunities. There is actually no limit. We have fish farming, we have greenhouses, we have aluminum smelters, we have data storage. All this diversified modern economy, which is now the foundation of our 21st century prosperity, has been caused by ordinary people, entrepreneurs and others seeing all kinds of new opportunities in the renewable energy transformation. That's why I think the COP28, by pinpointing this transformation, was exactly right and was sending the world a very important message.
Thank you, Your Excellency, for your time today.